for today. So what you guys did was come down this 190 slope here into the Clark bed. We are currently at the bottom or foot of the Clark bed. Now this is one of 7 mineable veins of coal down here. That means there's exactly 3 above us and 3 below. Each is separated by a layer of stone. So a lot of times when people first come into these mines, they tend to think that this is what's holding up the roof. Absolutely not. That'd be like a toothpick trying to hold up an elephant. It's just not gonna happen. So then what are these? These are what's known as timber or props. These are actually a warning system for the miners. So if there was gonna be a squeeze and kind of shifting or movement in the roof, these begin to pop, crack, make all kinds of noise, and then visibly warp so the miners would know it was time to get out. They say the timber is talking, miners are walking. So if you guys hear any kind of weird popping, cracking, no, I'm just kidding. So if this isn't what's holding up the roof, what is? This mine is actually held together through a series of pillars and chambers known as room and pillar mining. So up here, this is an above view of that 190 slope we just came down in, which you're currently standing in is what's known as the gangway. That's just this large open area they're going to be pulling most of the carts back and forth through. Then on either side of your chambers, those largest areas you're pulling your coal out from, also where the room in room and pillar mining comes from. And then every single one of these black rectangles are massive, usually 60 by 40 pillars of coal that are left in. So it's actually the coal itself that's holding up the roof. Now in this kind of mining, you need to leave in more coal than you can actually take out. But since this runs underneath all of Scranton, depending on how you feel about Scranton, very important we keep it supported. I see a lot of you are not from the area. So another thing you might have noticed was that loud rushing water as we came down. Some people think that that's because it's been raining, which rain can contribute to more water, but even on the driest day of the year, there's still going to be that massive amount of water coming in. Because as you can see from this chart, the majority of this mine is under the natural water level. So what that means is with all of that water just naturally seeping, permeating through the earth directly into this mine, well, it would eventually fill up to here, and we'd have to do the rest of the tour with scuba gear, which we could not afford. So when this mine was first operational, there would have been massive pumps to just pump that water out 24/7. Now that's a very expensive, very involved process, and we no longer handle it that way. What we do instead is we siphon or guide all of that water down into these 2 beds below, which we no longer have access to. And then they let out through a 42-inch borehole somewhere over in Old Forge. I think it's near Pagnotti Park, if you ever want to check it out. That lets all that water out into the Lackawanna, flows into the Susquehanna, makes its way all the way to the Chesapeake Bay, where, unfortunately, we are still a source of pollution for them. Unless you're from Chesapeake Bay, in which case we filtered it thoroughly. Yikes. So, what?
And it's filtered because of the rocks.
Yeah, exactly, sure. We also put those little pool droplets in it, that helps. So this mine first opened in 1860, ran until 1965, so a little bit over 100 years where after it closed down, reopened as a tour mine that we see today. But what you're going to be experiencing is only about 1% of what this mine originally was. It was part of a much larger mine known as the Continental Mine, would have gone several miles in either direction, absolutely massive. For its time, you could walk completely underground from Scranton straight through Nanticoke, but I am way too tired for that. So if you guys are cool with it, we'll just kind of stick to where the door is, yeah? Perfect! All right, any questions, comments, concerns about any of that so far? What's up?
Is that one of the chambers over there?
Absolutely! Good catch. We're going to look at a couple of them in just a second. Any other questions? Good observation, though. So, just a couple of things I got to go over really quick. With all of that runoff water constantly coming through, can make the boards a little bit wet, a little bit slippery. So please mind your footing, and you don't want to be walking on the rails because they are extremely old and rusted. Also, feel free to take as many pictures as you want. Just don't flash anybody in the eyes, and no filming like the entirety of the tour. But other than that, go crazy. Take as many pictures as you want. And then most importantly, because this is a real mine, stay with the group at all times. That means keeping pace with one another, no wandering off. You would think I don't have to say that, but I really do. So I need to be the head of the group, but other than that, let's go exploring. No, it does not run anymore because it would need a bare copper wire in order to run properly. keep this all clean, breathable, and circulated, this also functions as our secondary escape hatch. So if anything were to happen to that cart, which did happen last year, the cart broke down, what you do is you go down the hill past the gift shop, stay to the right, you'll see something labeled as secondary hoist house or fan house. That's where this lets out. Above it is a pill-shaped capsule big enough to fit a person or two. I think the max we got in was like 6 at one point, but they were small. So it's like those, you ever see those videos where they're shoving people in the subways? It was kind of like that. So unfortunately, when it breaks down, that's what we take. But it's basically a glorified elevator. So if anybody does want to check it out, you are welcome to. So here's how we communicate. Yeah, it is going to be loud, so close your ears if you don't like that. So you'll hear on the way out the same buzzers and bells, but now you'll understand what it means. 1's for stop, 2 for up, 3 for down. Prepare yourself. I said prepare yourself, you were warned. And I got in there, they pulled me up 250 feet, and I threw out some pickaxes and said goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. No. We went up just a couple at a time. But like I said, if you do want to check this out, you're welcome to. You absolutely would get wet, but if it's still bright outside, which I don't know if it is or not, you can see the tiniest pinprick of the surface 250 feet above. It looks like a little star in the night sky. So if you want to take off your helmet and hairnet, give it to somebody and check it out, you are welcome to. But you